Hello everyone, it's Joe here from Snakedraft FPL, and today we've got the big one, the full 10-man mock draft and my entire rankings. Let's get stuck into it. Okay, so before we get stuck into the mock draft today, I've just got a few things I want to announce. First of all, on the 9th at 9 PM, so that's next Friday night UK time, I'm going to be live streaming my first draft of the season, my first real draft of the season. That is going to be the Content Creators League. It's going to be on 9 PM on the 9th UK time, as I said, and we will be live drafting the entire thing. I'll also do a bit of Q&A and stuff like that beforehand, so I'll probably go live about 8:30 PM and then we'll be live streaming the entire draft. Also, if you haven't checked it out yet, please do look at the Patreon down below. There is a lot more going on at Snakedraft FPL this year than in previous years. On there, we've got player profiles, rankings, cheat sheets, all sorts. So if you want to win your draft FPL league, that is the best way to make it happen. On to the video today then. This is basically something similar to what I did last year. So this year what I've done is I have auto-drafted the rest of the teams based on the average draft position from the official FPL website. And that data is brought to you by my old friends draftfc.co.uk. If you are interested, they are much cleverer than I am and get all sorts of data and information plus their own thoughts and advice and put it into one exceptionally good package. If you want to sign up to that, use code SNAKEDRAFT and you can get some money off. It's a very, very good tool. I use it week in, week out, so I would definitely advise that. When it comes to my full rankings, I will let you know a little bit later on in the video exactly how you can get your hands on them completely free, or you can just click on the Patreon and it will tell you how to do it from there. So watch the whole video first though, because there's a lot of insight coming up. Let's get into it. Okay, so when I had a look in the mock draft, I decided I was going to take pick number 4. Not just because I love Bukayo Saka, but also I think it's actually quite a challenging position to pick from. I have no idea I have some idea, but I don't have a clear idea of where the average positions are. I'm pretty much doing this blind, as if I'm making every decision in real time, so I can talk you through my thought process as if I was drafting for real. But just having like a quick think about it, I think pick number 4 is going to be quite tricky because I'm going to take Saka in the first pick. It's Haaland, Salah, Palmer that have already gone. I'm definitely going to take Saka as per my rankings, but I do think it's going to be quite tricky with the forward situation as we go through, so I think it might be quite interesting. And I didn't want to pick one or something simple. So let's go for pick number 4 and I can talk you through my thoughts for the entire draft. So round number 1, as I said in my draft strategy video, should absolutely fly by. You look at your rankings, you pick the highest ranked player. That is the end of it. So for me, it is Bukayo Saka. Moving on to round 2, after my pick, we lose Foden, Son, Watkins, De Bruyne, Isak, Odegaard, Havertz, Bruno Fernandes, Solanke, Gordon, Bowen, Darwin, and then it is my pick. Just a couple of thoughts. First of all, I don't want to see a single comment saying, oh, this is so unrealistic, because it's literally the average draft positions of drafts that have happened in Draft FPL so far. So there's no unrealistic picks here. Some of the team compositions are a little bit unrealistic, like some team takes like 5 mids pretty early on or whatever, because obviously I'm not managing the drafts for them, but the picks, the actual order of the picks is very similar to how many of your drafts will go. So looking at my options for round number 2, I think a forward was absolutely essential, especially as Haaland, Watkins, Isak, Havertz, Solanke and Darwin had all already gone by the time it got back round to me. I was definitely going to pick a forward because I didn't want to miss out on potentially, the next wave of forwards going as well. So the choices I had really were Gakpo, Tony or Mateta. They were the 3 that I'm kind of looking at. I had Gakpo ranked the highest out of the 3 of them in my rankings. And I've done that for a reason. I think he has the highest upside out of the three of them if he gets the minutes. I've got no minutes concerns from my first pick. Bukayo Saka's as nailed on as it gets. So I think it's worth the gamble to take Gakpo in this second round. He did have quite a strong finish to the season last year, so hopefully he can carry that on. Good Euros. I'm expecting a better season from him under Slot. I think the setup might suit him a little bit better as well. So that's what I'm going for in pick number 2. After that, it was Trent, Tony, Mateta, Diaz, Maddison, Eze. Falls to me, and I've gone for Mbeumo. The thought process on here was I was gutted that I missed out on Eze. That was the pick that I really wanted in number 3. I think Saka, Gakpo, Eze would have been really good. Next up on my rankings were Cunha, Nkunku, Mbeumo and Jota. That was like the 4 players that were the next 4 that I was looking at, and I wanted to go for someone here that absolutely nailed the expected minutes, because having Gakpo obviously is a bit of a risk, so I wanted someone with a lot less risk attached to them. So Cunha, bit injury prone, I didn't really want to go there just yet. Nkunku, again, dealt with a lot of injuries. Jota, I didn't want to go for the double up with Gakpo on the Liverpool attack, so that leaves Mbeumo, and I'm pretty happy with that. What I will say at this point is I'm looking at these 3 thinking this is not looking like amazing. Saka, Gakpo and Mbeumo first 3, but sometimes that's just the way it is where you are in the draft order. But I'm still confident that later on in the rounds I can pick up some good value, and it's not won and lost on the first 3 rounds. So, as I said, it's a tricky spot to draft from, in my opinion. But hopefully we can bag some value later on and get back into it. Okay, so the next picks were Jackson, Alvarez, Ben White, Jota, Rodri. Rodri's average draft position is at the end of the 3rd round. Madness. Saliba, Højlund, Martinelli, Rice, Rashford, Gvardiol and Trossard. So that left me with a bit of a decision here in round number 4. It was basically Gabriel versus Cunha versus Nkunku. 1 defender, 1 mid, 1 forward. All 3 are the next available in each position on my rankings. And I kind of had to decide, do I want to commit to a premium defender or do I want to bolster the attack? When I kind of looked at it, I thought I don't need to go for forwards. I don't really need to go for a second forward yet, because there's a big group of forwards in the Cunha bracket that are all pretty similar value, and it's pretty unlikely that all of them are going to go before it gets back round to me in pick number 5, so I can skip him. Then it's Gabriel versus Nkunku. Now, Saliba and Ben White have both already gone. The 4th Arsenal defence spot is pretty up in the air. Trent's already gone. So there's no other... Gvardiol's gone as well. There's no other proper top tier defender left. He's the last one of that echelon in my opinion. So I thought actually the value play is to probably go for Gabriel and then hope Nkunku doesn't go by the time it gets back to me. But we'll see. That's basically the plan here. So next up went Raya, Richarlison, Van Dijk, Sterling, Bailey, Jesus. Perfect. That leaves me Nkunku. I'm still happy to take him over Cunha. That's kind of the choice left. But as I said, there's still a big pack of sort of second tier forwards that I think are in Cunha's sort of league. So I'm happy to wait a little bit longer on the forward. Bag my 3rd mid, Saka, Mbeumo and Nkunku. We're looking pretty good now, I think. So I'm pleased with that. A lot of the time in these kind of situations, you're hoping that you can, if you're deciding between 2 players, a lot of the time the best way to think about it is, can I get both of these? And if so, which one can I leave and hope to pick up on the way back? And in this kind of situation, it worked out quite well. I'm sure, I haven't looked at the average draft position of where Gabriel would have gone, but I'm sure he wouldn't have got back to me the same way that Nkunku did. So the next lot to go are Trippier, Kudus, Bruno Guimaraes, Xerxes, Garnacho, Bernardo, Porro, Gibbs-White, Alisson, Robertson, Ederson, Calafiori, and Cunha survives all the way back round to me. I was surprised here, actually. I really thought he would go before it got back to me. So that's just an interesting little thought process there. That Gabriel versus Nkunku versus Cunha in round number 4, I don't know, I haven't looked back, but I think if I'd picked them in any other order, I probably wouldn't have been able to get all three. So that's definitely something you want to think about. How can I try and get all of these? I think Gabriel definitely would have gone first. And then between Nkunku and Cunha, I'm not sure. They're probably quite similar average draft position, I would have thought. But for me, I thought Nkunku was more important to make sure I got than Cunha. As I said, there's a few more forwards that I think would have been sort of around Cunha's level that I could have got on the way back. But how it's worked out, I'm really pleased with that. I think that's a pretty strong little pack there from rounds 4 to 6. So the next ones to go are Walker, James Ward-Prowse, Callum Wilson, Cher, Pickford, Akanji. And then for me here, I've got quite a dilemma here in this round 7. I could basically go for anything. It's either a premium defender, Muniz, who is the next forward available on my rankings, or Szoboszlai or Johnson, Brennan Johnson. They're basically where I'm looking at. The way it's gone with defenders, like all the top tier are basically gone, and there's a massive range of picks in the next tier. So I don't feel like I need to rush into another defender. So I'm happy to skip over that. Then it's Muniz versus Szoboszlai or Johnson. When I look at Muniz, there's also like João Pedro, Wood, Wissa, Armstrong, DCL. All these are still available. It's highly unlikely they're all gone by the time it gets back to me if I need to go for a forward next. So I think another midfielder is the best play. So then it's a decision of Brennan Johnson versus Szoboszlai. I think they're both pretty close, but the thing that swings it for me is I do already have Gakpo for Liverpool. If I go Gakpo and Szoboszlai and Liverpool are terrible this season, or it all goes wrong or whatever, then that's 2 picks that are wiped out. I think individually they're pretty similar, so I'm going to split my risk a little bit and go for Brennan Johnson. Looking at the next wave then, Ruben Dias, Doku, McAllister, Stones, Ake, Szoboszlai, Mainu, Onana, Martinez, Kulusevski, Hwang, Timber, and then for me here it's an easy Muniz pick. He was, I think, miles ahead of anyone else I had left on the rankings. There was a big gap from him to anyone else. So I'm going to go ahead and pick him up, make sure he doesn't go before it gets back to me. That leaves me finished with the forwards, Gakpo, Cunha and Muniz. Like, no outstanding picks, and I've heard a lot of people say if you don't get one of Haaland, Watkins, Solanke or Havertz, you're basically done for. I don't really agree with that, to be honest. I think there's plenty of mid-tier picks that are around if you're willing to be kind of cutthroat with them throughout the season if things aren't going well. But I think on paper at the start of the season, Gakpo, Cunha, Muniz looks like a strong front 3. And that does leave me with my basically 7 core attackers. So the front 3 I've just spoken about, and then Saka, Mbeumo, Nkunku, Brennan Johnson, the 4 mids. I don't really need to push for another mid at this point because I've got loads of rounds left. There's loads and loads of decent picks left. So it's probably time I start focusing on the defence. And the next lot to go are Branthwaite, Wood, Matoma, Grealish, Neto, Wissa. So I'm actually going to go and take a punt here on Reece James. He's been an absolute disaster for about 5 years running, but he does have by far and away the highest potential of anyone left. He's not looked amazing so far in pre-season. He's been inverting a lot, which I think really limits him. But I'm hoping that Maresca kind of figures out what to do with him and how to get the best out of him, because we know how high his potential can be. So it's worth the risk, in my opinion. If he's terrible, if he gets injured, he will be gone in a flash. But something I do have to be careful with is that he is suspended for game week 1, so I need to make sure I don't take anyone else that is at risk for game week 1, really. But yeah, I mean, he was the next highest rated on my rankings, so it's a bit of a no-brainer, really. The next lot to go are João Pedro, Dalot, Vicario, Kiernan Dewsbury Hall, Udogi, Sancho, Romero, Leno, Gallagher, Mitchell, Ortega, Savio, and then it falls to me, and it's Munoz for me. Really happy with this pick. I'm pretty high on the Palace defence as a whole. I thought they were fantastic since Glasner came in. Munoz is the most attacking of the 4 of them. Nailed on. yeah, really pleased with that. I'm happy to take him in the 10th round. I think that's a solid pick. There were a couple ranked higher than him left over, but they were all Chelsea defenders, and I kind of wanted to avoid the Chelsea double up. Don't want too many eggs in that risky little basket, so it's Munoz for me. The next ones to go are Mudryk, Tarkowski, Mount, Yoro, Zinchenko, Madueke, and then at this point I kind of had a lot of, this is like a time when I did a little bit of sort of rounding up. So I finished the forwards. The midfielders, I decided at this point I'm going to leave until the very final round because there's only 2 other teams that need to draft midfielders still. So my choices aren't really going to change. Okay, I might lose a couple of picks, but the next kind of block of midfielders, I had about 12 to choose from anyway. So if I lose 3 or 4 of them, that is by no means a disaster. That actually might make my decision a little bit easier. So I'm going to leave the midfielders. Forwards are done. The defence is looking pretty good. Gabriel, James and Munoz. I think Gabriel and Munoz are guaranteed to start game week 1. They both have a decent fixture. James is suspended, so I need another defender definitely for game week 1. And I need a couple of defenders sort of in general that are decent picks with semi-good fixtures. I also need another keeper. I need 2 keepers. I hadn't decided on Pope at this point. So I need 2 keepers. And really, I think it's probably time to go for one of them. Like I said, I wasn't desperate for any other position. So let's get in a goalkeeper. When I looked through my rotation pairing and the best goalkeeper rotations available, you can see that on the Patreon on the draft prep cheat sheet. I've got an entire rotation of every single combination of keepers that you can get. It looked to me that Newcastle was the best bet to go for in this round because there was Newcastle had the most good rotations left available. So there was a few different second keepers I could go for if 1 or 2 of them got taken. So I dove in for Pope. I think also Newcastle defence is it was quite poor last season, but I think they're going to improve, and Pope is a much better keeper. So I'm happy to go in with him and then try and pick up a good rotating keeper in the next couple of rounds. So next to go is Barkley, DCL, Vardy, Martinez, Gusto, Duran, Senesi, Armstrong. Duran's average draft position is higher than Armstrong's. What is going on? Senesi, Armstrong, Nketiah, Awanai, Antonio, Joel Linton, and then I decided to just dive in for the other goalkeeper for the rotation. I kind of had a look around, so either a defender or a goalkeeper because I'm going to save that midfield pick. So looking through the rotations, the best 2 options are Flecken or Henderson. Flecken so far in pre-season has been absolutely pants, and the fans are like desperate for a new keeper at Brentford. So we'll see how that goes. That left Henderson. He's also kind of got a lot of competition from Johnson, but I don't actually think he's going to be fit to start the season anyway. I'll just have to keep a really close eye throughout the season on the goalkeeper situation at Palace. And if he does lose his place, I'm going to have to make sure I dive in there to keep that rotation alive. But I just thought, let's just lock in a really, really good rotation here. Newcastle and Palace, 2 good defences that rotate brilliantly. I think that's well worth a decent amount of clean sheets there. Next to go is Barnes, Leif Davis, Maguire, Cucurella, Van de Ven, Gomez, and then I go for Konsa in round 13. I skipped a couple of defensive double-ups that I didn't really want to go for, including Palace and Chelsea. Then I looked at Rico Henry was next actually on my rankings, but I had a quick look through the Brentford kind of pre-season and he hasn't actually featured yet. So I still think he's a good pick for the season, but for game week 1, I've already got Reece James suspended, so I can't gamble really on another game week 1 player that might not turn up. Konsa's got a decent fixture. I think it's West Ham away, so it's not great, but it's not terrible. They also have decent fixtures after, I think, game week 3. So I really like Villa defence. Anyway, Konsa is probably the most nailed on, very, very secure minutes-wise. So just a safe, solid defensive pick. The next lot to go are Luke Shaw, Quansah, Gahey, Matson, Gay? Can I leave that in? Wan-Bissaka, Flecken, Konate, Emerson, Anderson, Bradley, Areola. So I wanted a good game week 1 fixture and just a nailed on defender that's guaranteed to play. Pinnock is the easy choice there. Nailed on, good fixtures for a little while actually, and someone I'm happy to take in the team. And then rounding it out, it's Eduard, Cash, Jorgensen, Ramsdale, Verbruggen, Sarr. That left me with my last midfield pick. I had a little look through. I fancied taking someone with a high upside, even if they are a bit of a risk, because I've got plenty of solid picks throughout the rest of my attack. And the player I look to there is Minte. I think he's pretty exciting for Brighton. I think he's probably going to start. Looks like an absolute weapon, serious goal threat. I'm a sucker for a Brighton winger anyway, so that's who I've gone for. And then the final few picks to round out the draft are Sells, Burn, Neto, Tomiyasu, Pau Torres, and finally Muric. So that's the full draft board, and how it looks for my team specifically is lines up like this. Pope in goal. This will be my game week 1 lineup. Pope in goal with Saints at home. Pinnock with Palace at home. Gabriel with Wolves at home. Munoz Brentford away. Saka with Wolves at home. Mbeumo Palace at home. Johnson Leicester away. Minte with Everton away. Gakpo has Ipswich away. Muniz at United, and Cunha is away to Arsenal. I'm happy with this. The bench is Henderson with Brentford away, and Nkunku with City at home, Konsa West Ham away, and then James is suspended. I could easily play Nkunku here over Cunha. That's something I'd have to decide throughout the rest of pre-season. But I actually think this team is pretty strong, considering the first few picks were a bit of a struggle. And that is something you will find. Sometimes you're in a spot in the draft where you just can't make that many good picks because you're not in the right position to do it, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. I'm still happy with the team, and it doesn't jump out to you as a fantastic team, but it's just solid points over the whole squad, and that is enough. Like I said in the draft strategy video, if you draft like this, you won't always get the best team, because sometimes you just can't. If you're not in the right position in the draft, sometimes you cannot physically get the best team no matter how good you draft. But if you draft like this, you will avoid disaster and never come away from the draft thinking, oh my God, my team is horrendous. And that is kind of the overall point of how I build my drafts. And I'll then use the waivers for the rest of the season to try and keep improving the team and make sure I get towards the top of the table by the end of the year. So if you want to view my entire draft rankings for yourself, completely free of charge, all you have to do is go to the Patreon. There's a link down below, and they are there for all to see, for all to peruse at your leisure. You do have to sign up to the Patreon, but it's completely free. You only have to join as a free member. You don't have to pay a penny, no credit card information, nothing like that. If you enjoy the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Remember to check out Draft FC, and thank you so much for them for allowing me to use their average draft positions to make this video. Use code SNAKEDRAFT, and thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.